name is Leslie Smith. You are watching The Nerdy Narrative. If you are a reader who loves to read books that blend different genres, and let's just say your top 3 favorite genres are science fiction, horror, and fantasy, then I may have just found a book that belongs on your TBR. The book that I am talking about is The Failed Technomancer by Boo Ludlow. It is the first book in a series called The Robot Cannibal Apocalypse. If my memory serves me correctly, this is going to be a trilogy, and I could not be more excited, especially having just finished reading this one. I am so excited for the next in the series to see where it's going to go. So what was it about this one that cinched the deal that I wanted to read and review it? It's a story about man-eating robots. And what does that say about me? I don't know. I like dark stuff. I like dark stuff with hope in it. And one of the characters... Okay, we're going to get into that. Let me just start over and tell you a brief synopsis of what this book is about. So 64-bit. He is an acolyte of the guardian technomancer of a human settlement named Fort. And a technomancer is someone who is able to use their mind to manipulate or control technology. The reason why this is very important, especially when it comes to protecting settlements, is because of those man-eating robots that I mentioned earlier. These robots are responsible for almost the complete annihilation of the human race. This is a post-apocalyptic setting. Humans are struggling to survive. They're having to hide, and technomancers are instrumental in helping them survive. So our main character, 64-bit, this is his story, and we find out in the very beginning he's very nervous because it's time for him to take a very important test in his training, and he has a secret. He has never been able to actually use his mind to control technology, which means he is useless against these man-eating robots, which they're called Rosies. So this story is really 64-bit trying to find purpose, his identity. What is he? Who is he without being something that he has trained almost his entire life to be? In the very first chapter, there's an accident where the guardian technomancer is left in a coma. 64-bit and the other acolyte Cortex are trying to care for him. Each of them feel responsible for this accident, so they're trying to keep it quiet so that the settlement doesn't know. Of course, that is when 2 scouts come knocking at the door, requesting the immediate aid of the guardian technomancer because they have discovered Rosies are in or around Fort. 64-bit has to try to find a way to protect the people of Fort. He's having to rely on himself to think this through, to come up with a plan, as well as a couple of other characters that he's having to learn to trust and rely on. So now you know why I read the book and a brief description of it. Let's talk about some of the elements of the book that I really enjoyed. Let's start with characters. My favorite characters are the secondary characters of Cortex, Hannah, and Wesley. Cortex is the other acolyte that has been training with 64-bit. Wesley is also a resident of Fort, and Hannah is a Rosie. And I don't want to get into too much detail about why they are my favorite characters, but the way that the author writes these characters, their relationships with one another, how they come to learn to work together, trust each other, and just so good. My next favorite element about this book was the author's writing style. In my personal experience reading books that are primarily science fiction or have a lot of science fiction elements, there's a lot of times where that sci-fi part of it is outside of my purview. I'm just not able to understand what's going on, or it's not explained in a way that I'm able to understand what's going on. Boo Ludlow really excelled at this. I understood everything perfectly. It made sense. The attention to detail in this novel was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like I mentioned, these are man-eating robots. There's a particular scene where a character gets bitten by a Rosie. The character thinks immediately, I need to seek medical attention. I need to get this cleaned. I need to get antibiotics in my system because Rosies who eat people, well, do you think they have any type of dental hygiene? Do you think they're flossing out the pieces of meat that's getting stuck between their teeth? No, they leave it there to rot and decay. It's full of bacteria. And so this character was like, I've got to get this clean before it gets infected with whatever bacteria might have been growing in this thing's head. I was so impressed by that, and that's just one example. This book is full of them, and I just really appreciated just how far the author went to make this such a complete story. There were no loopholes. I felt like I completely understood this world. So let's talk about the action. the little part of my heart that is completely black, that loves all the horror and dark elements that books have to offer. I originally started out reading this book going, hey, I think this might be suitable for younger readers. I quickly changed my mind because when we get to the Rosies, oh my goodness, they're truly awful. The author really does a great job illustrating why humanity has almost been completely wiped out by these things. Oh my gosh, it was just gory, it was violent, it was so good. Overall, I really enjoy reading this book. In my opinion, it's a very fast read just because of all the interesting things about this world, the fear, the danger. There's one other element that I want to keep a secret that is something I just love when I come across in books. I'm very excited to continue the trilogy. If you are an audiobook lover, I definitely recommend the audiobook. It's narrated by the author himself. I picked it up on Audible recently. I'm so glad that I did because Boo Ludlow did an amazing job just doing all of the voices for the humans, for those that were partially human, for the Rosies. I just thought he did a wonderful job. I'm looking forward to learning more about this world. As you might have noticed when I held up the book earlier, I have been tabbing the stuffing out of this one. Any information about technomancers because I wanted to learn more about them, how they're made, just what their purpose is. The setting, I enjoyed reading about this world, what it looks like after this robot apocalypse. This one I'm going to leave a secret. I was tabbing anything I thought was interesting about the Rosies. This one I'm going to keep a secret. I was tabbing some of my favorite moments because there were some really fantastic character interactions. And then attention to detail. I was so impressed by the author's attention to detail that I was tabbing any of the really great moments that I just was going, oh my gosh, just in awe. I really enjoyed this book and I think you might would too. Thank you all so much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful rest of your day and I'll catch you in the next one.